Join two sisters who explore the couples that fandoms adore. We write their stories in the night, in the glow of computer light. Eyes connect, clothing flies, in our head canon love never dies. Pencils that leave us pining, in deep forums we are mining. For this journey, better strap in, because we all know that shit happens.
Welcome to the podcast that explores the couples fans can't stop dreaming about from the pop culture you love. Because when it comes to your favorite YA dystopian genre creator, ship happens.
We're your host. I'm Emily.
And I'm Rachel. She likes nerd culture.
And she likes making podcasts. So we thought we'd join forces to make a podcast about popular online ships.
And we have a good one today. But before we dive into our big ship this week, Emily, are you shipping anybody?
I do. I have. So this is kind of like Emily's Ship of the Week part 2. So last week, I kind of mentioned the ship from Arcane, Jace and Victor. We talked about that and how it reminded me of like a different ship I like. So now, because when we do this podcast, I'd be Googling and looking things up, and then it gets into my algorithm.
I'd be Googling.
I'd be Googling. So now my algorithm's like, oh, you must really, like, here's more Wicked stuff, and I have to ignore it once the episode's done. But because I did like Arcane, I feel like I've been interacting with the Arcane stuff more, so I've been getting a lot of Arcane stuff. And now I've been seeing more of the JVIC ship, and I feel like I came down kind of negatively on it, and I'm going to take that back. I get it now. I see it. I've been
oh, you like
seeing
it?
Some of the fan art, some of the ships. Good for you guys.
No, remind me that was Jace and Victor.
Yeah,
who were
they? They're like two scientist dudes. So I do think I still don't really see it from the show, but it just kind of goes to show like I never see this stuff.
No, that's what I've learned.
Yeah, so like while I don't see it, like I said, from the show, what the people are doing with it, I'm like, support. Good for you guys. I feel like people, they see these characters and they're like, what if I did something more interesting than what happened in the show with them, and then they got together.
And honestly, that's the theme of this episode to me.
Yeah. It kind of really fits.
So that fits perfectly.
Yeah.
But I have a ship this week too, and it's also on theme, like a little bit more explicitly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the couple that I'm shipping is from the Hunger Games universe, the prequel before the prequel that just came out, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I am shipping Coriolanus Snow and Sejanus Plinth. And I read this book a while ago, but I just reread it, and oh my god, it's my favorite, I think, of all of the Hunger Games books. It's just a very different beast than the rest of them. But essentially, it's just the origin story for the Emperor Palpatine of the Hunger Games universe, where we get to know him, and he's just a little schoolboy. He's just a little lad. And essentially, he's like from this old money defunct family, and he meets this principled and rash new money dreamer, and ... and a lot happens in between the dots.
Yeah.
In the minds of the fans. Because of the first read through, I didn't see any of it. I didn't even think anything of it.
They're like, they worked together on the first games, right?
Yes. They just went from peers in school to classmates. I said this earlier. I was in a text to somebody. I said co-students. And I'm like, that's not the right word. Yeah, his classmates. They started out as classmates, and then they become better friends over the course of it. So much to the point where Sejanus considers Coriolanus to be his best friend, and then eventually they become quote-unquote brothers. Wink, wink. But after I learned more about the world and got into it, got back into the content after I read this Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, especially after the movie came out, I started to hear more about this shipping between the two. And I think that if Coriolanus had any chance of being saved, it was through Sejanus. Like, that guy was going to be the one to fix him, not Lucy Gray. She was not going to be the one to do it.
She had her own stuff going on.
She was just trying to live. The first time I read it was at very face value. Boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love. And then people were like, that's not actually what happened if you read closely. And then I read more closely, and I was like, she's playing him the whole time. She's not like, I mean, sure, she might have had affection for him, but she literally was an entertainer. Like, she sold people the image of herself that was going to get her the most benefit. I mean, Coriolanus
playing
did
the
too.
game, right? That's like,
Yeah,
that becomes part of the games later. So she was just ahead of her time.
Yeah, they both only saw what the other person could give them, right? Reflected back at it. So he thought she was his ticket to getting the scholarship to school. And she was like, well, this guy's my only chance at survival. So they kind of like play off each other that way. And then they end up in the same district after the games, after Coriolanus gets dishonorably discharged from school in the capital. And then they're like, oh, she's probably like, oh shit, now I actually got to follow through with this. But even still, she sees him as protection. He's like the hookup to getting her family ice and like sweet treats and money and stuff. So she's like, hey, I'll keep this guy around. But anyways, that's not a love story at all. In hindsight, there was like no love between them. It was very interesting to see. What Coriolanus needed was not some like tricksy little showgirl, was he craved security and access and status. And those were all things that Sejanus had, right? So Sejanus' family is from the districts, but they got really rich and they moved to the capital and they had all that access and all the money and wearing the cool suits. But at the same time, Sejanus wasn't like satisfied with all that. He was everything that Coriolanus didn't like, because he's rash and driven by emotions, and of course he's from the districts, so there's all things that he hates. But if he had gotten over that, and also probably some ingrained homophobia, he could have had Daddy Sejanus solve all of his problems. I mean, the fanfic writes itself. It's basically 50 Shades of Snow at that point.
Just a sugar baby situation or something, but yeah. Very rich.
I mean, it's like the European prince and the American princess. Boom, match made in heaven.
Oh, that's what they were doing too in the like Regency and stuff. They would ship over these super wealthy American heiresses from like the robber barons, and then you had the upper class British people would marry them like for money, because they had no money. They're like house poor. They had all these lands they couldn't maintain. So yeah, they'd marry these women. The women get a title, a cool British title. They get to be a duchess or whatever.
Right.
And then yeah, the British
that is what could have happened here.
Yeah.
You could have the Snow name with the plinth fortune, which kind of what happens in the end anyway, after he gets his potential love interest.
Yeah, right. He does get killed. That is going into this, I having heard the name Sejanus. I knew that from actually like Roman history. I don't remember who the dude was, but I knew that he does get killed for treason. So
spoiler alert,
he does get killed for treason.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. It's
like,
really
see where she got that from.
Yeah, she's no dummy, Suzanne Collins. And some people are like pro it. They say there's a lot of chemistry in the movie. Some people say they have no idea where it comes from, but
that's everything. There's always someone on the internet like, what do you even mean?
I mean, I didn't see it the first time, but after you pointed it out, like the wheels started turning. And let's be real, from doing my other podcast that's all about taboos, I learned that people find shame and humiliation really, really hot. So like, what's hotter than letting some big hunk of district scum inside your Sejanus? I could see where there's some steaminess to this when you're just like, oh, I hate him. I hate everything he stands for. Why do I want him so? Yeah. I'm starting to realize that theme. Yeah, this I could really see, this is heavy on the want to see it, low on the do I see it. But
there's potential. Yeah, exactly. It's the people who write the fan fiction could take the two characters and then do something completely different with them.
Right.
In an enjoyable way. Yeah.
I mean, there's a scene in the movie after Sejanus dies where Corio is like holding a picture of him crying. Like, I'm like, well, to be fair, your friend just died. But also, it seems kind of romantic. But then also, there's like a line in the book where somebody says, I think it might even be Sejanus, says something to Coriolanus about being his best friend. And in his head, Snow goes, that's weird. I didn't even think we were friends. So it's just like what he does.
Well, he's a psychopath, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That's what the internet says. I was like, sometimes this train of thought's kind of rational to me.
Like, it's kind of relatable.
Yeah, I'm like, I should see a shrink.
No therapists in the Hunger Games universe. That's a reoccurring theme.
No, they couldn't. Well, except in the fanfic, because I did see it in some of the fanfics for today's episode. And both of our ships this week are so on theme because for today, the ship we're talking about is also one that lives in the space between the lines and very horrible on paper, but I can kind of totally see it in a steamy, self-hating, sexy, shame-filling kind of way. And it's also in the Hunger Games universe. Mm-hmm. Because just like my brain and my For You page, it's all Hunger Games all the time. So what big ship are we talking about today?
We're talking about Hayffie, as in Haymitch, Abernathy, and Effie Trinket. Hayffie. Heffie?
Hayffie. I guess.
Effie.
I always read it as Heffie in my
yeah.
head, but it's Haymitch, so I said hey.
Yeah, I guess it's
Hayffie.
Hayffie.
Which this is a controversial one, I guess.
Yeah.
It's definitely
I found
not
out.
the most popular.
No, it's up there that we'll talk about it.
Well, isn't the popular one Everlark? And I'm like, that's just the book.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
who exactly is that? And I was like, oh, wait, that's Katniss and PETA, right?
Cat pee. That's
Oh, that's way better. Not going to lie. But I mean, for Hayffie, I saw somebody else call it Effmitch or something like that. There's not really a lot you can do.
upper trinket.
Trinkernathi or the Blush and the Lush.
That's good. I like more of these creative names where it's not just their names squished together.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They don't have like nom de plume, so I don't know what else. Yeah.
Yeah, just being a drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. Okay, so Hayffie it is for the episode and for the SEO.
Easy to type.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just rolls off the keyboard. So, okay, if you haven't guessed by now, I'm a pretty big Hunger Games fan. But that wasn't always the case. I think, Emily, you were actually the one that turned me on to the series way back in the day. Mm-hmm. Do you have any memory of that?
No. I mean, I knew I read it. I think I must have read it when it came out. I think that was like a midnight release type deal when the last one came out or something like that. I don't know if I read them all in one in one go. So I think I maybe had to wait for the last one. And I think I was excited to see the movies. I remember the movies coming out. But yeah, we kind of opposite of what you did. Because I guess I liked it when I was an actual teenager and I have not been keeping up with it.
Ships passing in the night. You just passed the torch and you said, bye, I'm out. Because I think I'm assuming it had to have been you that told me about it. Because I don't know who else would have. But I was like...
I don't remember how I stumbled across it.
No.
But dystopians, really, that's more your bag than mine.
Oh, yeah. This is what started it all. Because, like, when I did pick it up, I, like, did not believe that children were actually going to be fighting and dying. Just based on the premise, I was like, why am I reading this? I don't want to read this. I was like, it just can't be true. And then I read it, and I was like, oh. But... I was hooked, man. And it stuck with me because not only did I read The Hunger Games, I read The Divergent. I read what was the other one? The cornier one? There was one about the
Circle or something. There was one you would talk about.
the partials. I love the partials. I do not hate on the partials. With me, the backpack. That's like a deep cut. I don't think anybody else read the partials. But there was like Divergent, which was like a knockoff,
Yes.
and then there was like a worse knockoff of the knockoff. It just like there were so many bad ones. Anyways, dystopian dystopian was like my life there for a minute. But like it stuck with me into college as well, to the point where like I word for word remember a tweet I shared on the midnight premiere of Catching Fire Part 2, and it read real or not real, I'm wearing my pita pearl to the midnight premiere of Catching Fire tonight. Real. And if you were curious, a pita pearl is a piece of Hunger Games merch. I believe you bought me for Christmas.
Maybe.
I was like, I don't know. I just woke
I
up.
can't remember. It was plastic. Right? Wasn't it like a pearl in like a little cage type thing?
Yeah.
I have no memory of it from the movie or the books.
Yeah, I don't really kind of remember it either.
Guess it's the thing PETA gave Katniss.
At some point. And then the one you gave me had like a little hole in it. So it was like a bead. It was funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, I did wear that. I did wear that to the midnight premiere. And I also posted another photo, which I was able to track down. I can't get in my old Twitter anymore. I don't know how to get in there. But I did track down an Instagram post I shared from 2015 of me when they had an archery event on campus. And I literally went like cosplaying Katniss. Tell me what you see, Emily.
I see a old school Instagram. It's a square. It's got some like darkening on the edges, so you know it was filtered.
Hell yeah.
It's Rachel pull it with a bow and arrow, pulling it back, kind of doing like a face, and it reads, "Yes, I did wear my hair in a side braid on purpose. Hashtag I am Katniss."
I did wear it on purpose, but I also am wearing like an approximate of the arena outfit with a gray sweat, like a gray long sleeve t-shirt, and then a vest on over it. I was like literally, I probably wore riding boots as well, if I'm being honest.
Well, that was just the time.
Right, 17 hearts and
it says February 8th, 2015.
and 3 comments. I wonder what they were. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't screenshot
17
that.
likes.
But as an adult, I trailed off after the college era. I did trail off on the Hunger Games until I learned about A Songbirds and Snakes, like years after it came out. I believe it came out in 2020, and I read it in 2023. I know because I was listening to it in the hospital when my daughter was born, and I was holding her in the NICU just listening to A Songbirds and Snakes. And then I got sucked back into it thanks to TikTok. And I remember one of my mom's days out when they were both really little is I went and saw the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in the movie by myself with the giant tub of popcorn. It was a great day.
I remember that being a big pandemic thing. Because 2020 would have...
I had no recollection of it happening. No memory of it happening.
Because she came out of nowhere with the new book. And I feel like it got like announced, released, was a movie like super fast. Which that's how these are all, because they're already casting the next movie. As soon as she like gets a deal, they're like already getting ready to make a movie. They do it immediately.
Right, yeah. She's probably like, I had this idea, and they're like, great, let's make money off of it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, wow, we made a lot of money, Suzanne. You got some more in you. And then I feel like that's what led to this one, because I felt like the Snow story was something she wanted to tell, and then Haymitch was just like, well, I guess we should write another book.
Right. I mean, we can get into like my thoughts. So, because I'm like said the opposite of Rachel, I was into it, I guess, in high school. And then I saw maybe the first or second movie in college. And then I never saw like the last 2 movies. I knew about the books when they came out. I listened to podcasts about them. I have no interest in reading them because I just think it's a huge bummer. So I guess now,
sad, yeah.
As an adult, I have a bigger issue with kids killing kids than as a kid. I guess I was fine with it.
Well, back then,
especially
you're like peers, and then now they're like kids.
Yeah, like these are children. It's too upsetting, and I don't like, especially this most recent one. I don't get it. Like, why was it written? We know what happens. Everybody's gonna die. And then we even know his family dies and stuff because it was in the previous book. Like, I don't get the point. Like, why read it?
It's just gonna be all of it. So
it's just gonna be sad.
And it was. I was like, why do I read these books?
I don't know. I mean, I know there's things don't have to be happy to be art, but like, I prefer media that is
at least somewhat
has at least a happy ending
well,
or something.
That's the thing, because the Hunger Games trilogy is hopeful, right? Because they got to overthrow the bad guy. Haymitch's story in that section is not. There's like
exactly. So it's like there's no chance for any kind of like closure, or it's still terrible in the next books. At least Songbirds and Snakes, that's like an interesting perspective where it's, like a villain origin story and you're in his head. So I think that's at least like interesting as a concept. But yeah, the Haymitch's backstory kind of felt like fan service.
It did. A lot of it felt like fan service. Way more than any of the other ones. And I guess this far we should point out like the Hunger Games. Do we need to explain what the premise of the Hunger Games is? We keep talking about it.
Do we need to?
I mean, I was watching an episode of Bob's Burgers on like the 80th time through, and it's a reference in Bob's Burgers. The kids are sharing a bag of candy, and Linda's like, stop going after it like it's the Hunger Games or something. So I feel like we know what the Hunger Games is. It's common vernacular enough. It's kids from the districts being forced to fight in like a big game to a boy and a girl from every like sub-region of this country have to fight to the death till only one lives. And it's all being forced on them by the capital, which is the central ruling hub of the country.
The big bad. So the Hunger Games books, right? A young adult dystopian novels written by Suzanne Clark, who you may have heard from her other book, Gregor the Overlander.
Which I hear is better. No, I'm just kidding. It's Suzanne Collins.
I remember Gregor the Overlander specifically, like they teach her reading it aloud in 6th grade because like, oh, my dad's name's Greg.
Whoa. I remember seeing the title
anyway.
at the Scholastics book fair for the same reason. Or Dad's Greg.
Yeah. But yeah, it really kind of kicked off a trend of like dystopian books and movies. So you already mentioned a couple that
teen girl has to save the world.
Yeah, with her side braid.
And her bows and arrows, which is then sneaked over into the modern romantasy kind of.
Oh, yeah. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
I'm so different. Other girls wear dress and pretty hair. I wear pants and do hunt with bow and arrow. There's like some lady on TikTok.
Provide for my family.
Yeah, does that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather die. He's going to make me wear this beautiful dress. It's kind of that vibe.
Horror.
Kind of that vibe.
But really, he started off kind of a trend. I don't know if like, yeah, Divergent and stuff, if they necessarily were copying, but they definitely got a boost because they were like scrambling to make dystopian movies and stuff after the success of Hunger Games. It's also a big YA love triangle.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it gets combined a lot with like the Twilight love triangle, and then you see love triangles a lot. But really, no one's doing it like her. Because overall, I think positive reviews of the actual books. You know, they're good books. They're well written. They cover really intense topics for children. And not even just like children murdering children. It's like
propaganda.
Yeah, in-depth
control.
kind of breakdown.
Yeah, people are still dissecting things. And that's why I think it's so fascinating. Because especially in today's world where there's so much going on, you like can see it reflected in the Hunger Games. And like the Hunger Games trivia that everybody knows is that Suzanne Collins had the idea for it when she was channel surfing on TV and was going between reality TV and war footage. And was like, bing, and came up with the idea for it.
Critique on reality TV. And then her different books, right? Also famously, she only writes when she has something to write about. So it's like all the books kind of hit different topics too.
And that's what I think made Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes so good, is that it had all the angst of 2020 and like all the world's falling apartness, but it wasn't like, I'm going to write about the pandemic. But anyways, so we're talking about the games, and the first book is about one game, and the second one's about a second one, and then they they stop them. Yay. Mm-hmm. But the characters we're talking about today are characters from the first trilogy. They're supporting characters, and the first of which is Haymitch Abernathy, who is the second but only known victor from District 12, the little coal mining district that's kind of like the smallest peewee of Great Panem. And he's the victor of the 50th Hunger Games. And when we meet him, he is an alcoholic who is very jaded and antagonistic because of his tragic backstory. But he ends up as part of the rebellion and eventually becomes tight and has a really strong relationship with the main characters.
He kind of steps in as almost like surrogate father for Katniss. So his role as a mentor? What are they called?
Yes. So after you win, you have to be a mentor.
Mm-hmm. So he basically has to like help these kids. They get reaped. They have to go into the Hunger Games. So he has to like try to help them survive, except there's only one winner. So they're most likely not surviving. So he's just sending these kids to their death year after year. So he kind of, he keeps everyone at arm's length, especially these kids, because that's gonna be traumatic.
Yeah, he's like, he can't save them, right? Because there's like all the other districts are fed better and like have been training their whole lives and all this stuff. And it's a bummer. And then Haymitch just got his own book, and in which we learn that him and Katniss, he steps in that surrogate father role because he was really good friends with her dad. He was really good friends with everybody. Whoever came in the Hunger Games trilogy gets a name drop. In the Sunrise on the Reaping. So that's one of them. It's Haymitch is best buddies with her papa, which I don't remember his name. But when he said Everdeen, I was like, oh, there's another one. Even Peeta's dad gets a name drop.
I was like, yeah, is there a Malark gonna show
in the most random way. He was like, and then I smelt the bread breaking at somebody Malark's bakery who I've went to one time. And it was just like, okay, we get it.
Like he's there, obviously.
And that's where the allegations of fan service come in, but we'll get more into that. And who's our other half of this ship?
So our other half is the other person that those reaped from District 12 have to deal with, and that is Effie. who serves as an escort. I'm not even entirely sure what her role is.
I forgot. I meant to look up.
I guess she picks these kids up from the district and is just like a chaperone as they go into the Capitol. Does she maybe do their like hair and stuff?
No, she doesn't even dress them. She's just kind of the designated Capitol official that like monitors them and like oversees their shepherding from district to games.
So she's well-intentioned. She isn't like outright terrible to these kids. She kind of seems to want to help them, but again, she's also sending these children to their death. So I don't know how much she's internalized that. But she is described by the author, Suzanne Collins, as ridiculous but not malicious. So she's over the top. She has these crazy outfits like the Capitol wears, but she's really not like standard evil, even though she is like kind of supporting the current system, which I find very like interesting for a YA dystopian where it's not black and white. Even though she's like supporting this system, she's not shown as being like evil through and through. She's a regular person who's just trying to survive in the world she's in. So she doesn't treat all the district people like they're less than, but she still sends them to their deaths. But yeah, she's she's the one who pulls the names for the reaping. She has her line, "May the odds be ever in your favor." But yeah, I don't know if she's in the book a whole lot.
And I think that's such an interesting point because a lot of other young YA dystopians, like very black and white. And that's what makes Suzanne Collins' depiction so good, right? It's not like the Capitol is this unilateral force of evil. Like, it's this force of evil because the people who live there are kind of depicted as like silly and preoccupied with fashion and news, like, that kind of stuff. And they're depicted as almost childlike in the face of these district people who have to fight for survival every day. And it is funny because I think Katniss does describe them as like children. When her styling team gets kidnapped and like taken back to District 13, she's like, they're just like little kids here. She's like, I don't want to see anything bad happen to them because like they didn't choose their lot in life any more than I did. And they're just, but it's just interesting that the back of this huge misery machine is kind of powered by these kind of clueless people who are just chasing comfort and trends and that kind of stuff. It's a good mirror to reality. Yeah.
Well, right. It's Panem's the nation. It's like that's Latin for bread or whatever. So it's bread in circuses, which is how the Romans kept their. It's a lot of Roman references in this, kind of how they kept their people like compliant. You feed them so they're not too angry to riot, and you entertain them so they're not like bored and riot.
Right. Yeah, and that's definitely what she shows there. And then as far as we learn a little bit more about Effie and Haymitch, right? Negotiably so much about Haymitch because we pretty much knew it all. But we learn a little bit more about Effie and the sunrise on the reaping as well. And we learn that she has a younger sister who is actually the one who introduces Effie to the narrative, and that their family is like low-key disgraced. So we don't really know what happened to the Trinket family, but we do know that they're trying to claw their way back up. And maybe that's why she's stuck with District 12 as long as she is, and also why she might be more inclined to be soft with them, a little bit of a softer side to them, because maybe her ancestors were rebels or rebel sympathizers. Right. Where it's introduced that Effie has a sister and we meet her for the first time. That is actually the same first time that Haymitch meets her, because throughout the series they are working together to shepherd the tributes to the Hunger Games. But the first time they meet is when Haymitch is a tribute himself, and Effie's not even officially involved in the game. She is coming in to support her little sister, who is assigned to like be their stylist, or not stylist, but like help them look presentable for all of the events. And they are kind of up a creek with no paddle because their stylist is a notorious drug user or something, and he is down for the count when they need him the most. So who do they call to save the day? Well, this one girl's cooler, sophisticated, more in the know older sister, who just happens to be Effie. And she comes in and she uses her charm, or her like saying of staying positive is half the battle and stuff like that, to kind of get them through it. And in the end, she kind of saves the day, and she does make them look cool for their interviews. But when we get to that idea of, is it a meet cute or is it get the boot? I don't know. Like, it seems kind
not great.
Yeah, it seems kind of like a meet cute until you realize she's preparing these lambs for slaughter.
Yeah.
And that,
she's not even like, she's older, but not that much older. She kind of, I guess, saves the day. She's still working. Yeah. What did you call it? Murder machine or something?
Yeah. The killing machine in the Capitol.
Yeah. Like, these kids are facing down killing or be killed. So, yeah, I gotta say, get the boot.
Yeah.
Not very cute.
No, it's not a meet cute at all. Even though she's helping them look good and feel good for their interview, which helps them in the murder machine. But, yeah, it's not cute. Because she's like, they don't even acknowledge what's happening to these kids. Yeah. So.
No, like, awareness. Just, yeah.
But in my opinion, nothing about this ship is cute. And like in my head canon. So it kind of tracks.
Yeah.
It kind of tracks. Okay.
Not a lot of cuteness in Hunger Games world.
No, just PETA. He's cute. He's he's the angel. The angel in the games. But let's get into it.
Nothing romantic here that we see. But what do the people see? So what the people see, so they do, since they both were working, kind of for the Hunger Games. And they've been working together for like a long time. I think it's like 20 years, 20 to 25 years. Where once a year they have to work together.
24 years, because it's the quarter quell is when they all get, the victors get reaped again.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's a lot to bond over, I guess.
It's a lot of time to see each other, right?
Right.
Like a week every
maybe trauma
year.
bond.
Yeah, and during the whole time that they're, because they're not just with the tributes, but they're also during the games, and I'm sure for the closing ceremonies and blah 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 blah, all that the crazy stuff. And they're kind of presented at first at being like at odds with each other. I think our introduction to Haymitch is him falling over in a drunken stupor and knocking Effie's wig off, and that's just kind of summarizes their relationship.
At odds, but they have the same goal, so both of them benefit, right? I would assume they would want their victors to win, or their tributes to win, just because at least that's one less kid that that has died. But also they like benefit. Maybe not Haymitch, but Effie at least would benefit like societally,
socially, yeah,
right. So they kind of have a similar goal there to try to help these kids out. They kind of become like an odd couple and kind of a mom and dad vibe to our tributes there, especially because Katniss doesn't really have parents, so she's got she's a ingenue of a YA book. She can't have parents.
Right. She can't have a good family situation. And she has to care for the remaining members of it. But yeah. And they take on that role where the dad's like scruffy, tough love. And then the mom's like doting, like, oh, don't worry, blah, 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 blah. And so they kind of like act like a sitcom parent in this life or death situation. And of course, there's the highs and the lows, but of course mom and dad would be a little bit tense when their 2 children every year are raised up for slaughter.
Yeah. Got a lot going on. Maybe not the perfect situation for romance to blossom.
No, not at all. But maybe some other coping mechanisms. Wink, wink,
maybe.
But things do get better for these two when Katniss and PETA are the first ever joint victors to survive. So we see a little bit more softness and a little bit more mutual understanding start to develop between Effie and Haymitch across the victory tour and the time after. And
I guess that would help when you don't have the looming death, At this point, before book 2, they should be good. They should be in the clear. They've survived. So maybe, you can takes the stress off.
Right. All right. So they can actually breathe. They're not preparing kids to die or just witness kids die in their care. Yeah. So it's just maybe they can relax and we can all bond a little bit. We're not all going to be parted. We can let our guard down.
Yeah. Until book 2.
Where it is decided that the previous victors will be the ones chosen to go back into the arena. And I remember I wanted to throw the book when I read that. I was never so blindsided. I was mad. I was so angry on their behalf. Also on my behalf, because I can't do this again. It's so stressful.
I think I was kind of oh, that's what she's gonna do. Because I was like, what could the sequel be about? They like can't go back into the games, and then it's like twist, they're back in the games. Like, oh, okay, gotta put something in the book. Gotta
be about something. Yeah, that's true. I thought they were gonna try to shut it down, Emily.
Well, book 3.
That's why there's 3 books. And then, much to any Hayffie shipper's chagrin, Effie is actually not in book 3 at all. They escape the arena in the second quarter or the third quarter quell, and she just stays in the capital, and then she's like a background, whatever, who cares.
She's there, the rebellion's happening.
There's bigger fish to fry. Yeah, I think they mentioned seeing her on the other side. And that's the book. But really, where things start to heat up is the movie.
So the movie, what they did here was that they cast Woody Harrelson as Haymitch and then Elizabeth Banks as Effie. And the ship is just on these 2 people's shoulders. I think they kind of just willed it into being by just like having just great chemistry and just liking each other a lot. It seems to really kind of like they had such a vibe that it made people be like, oh, is there something between Haymitch and Effie? Really, it's Woody and Elizabeth.
Right, because they hired 2 really good comedic actors and then put them in the same space. And I mean, like, Woody Harrelson has got like this charm about him. I remember him in Magic Mike. And then Elizabeth Banks is freaking Avery Jessup. She's the one who taught me flat shoes are for quitters. But they're good looking people and they're funny and they definitely were vibing. And the chemistry oozed between the lines. The few interactions that they had, there was tension there. And then I feel like a producer saw it and they're like, how can we play this up? Right. And so then in the 3rd movie, instead of just having Elizabeth, the 3rd and 4th, right? Because that was, thank you, Harry Potter. You have to split every last movie into like as many parts as possible. Why was The Hobbit a trilogy? Nobody knows.
Didn't need to be.
Don't get us started on that. We'll have a repeat of the Saran
We've already discussed that, I'm sure. Go back to the Lord of the Rings episode.
Right. But so then they played it up when Effie is taken back to District 13 with them. She is like, there's these moments of like connection between Haymitch and Effie where Haymitch is like, I like you better without all that makeup. Like the Capitol people wear excessive, crazy makeup. Think Met Gala. And then it's like exactly what the Capitol is. And then she says, I like you better sober. And it's like they're bonding as like real people.
Yeah, and then the movies really seal the deal because they actually kiss and they're saying goodbye. They share a little smooch. So apparently this was unscripted. It was Woody Harrelson's idea because he admits in interviews he had a crush on Elizabeth Banks, so he just wanted to sneak a kiss in there. Not that he did. They like planned it ahead of time, which makes it, I think, less creepy. And they kept it in the movie. They liked it. So I did watch it. I thought it would be steamier. But
well, did you see there's some outtakes like that are joking around where Jennifer Lawrence keeps walking away and then Woody Harrelson just hangs back and him and Elizabeth Banks are like making out and she just doesn't even know what's happening and they're just like they're like getting down and she just walks away solemnly. It's pretty funny. So there's definitely variations of that take and I mean like I'd buy that. They're both attractive people. They're both great actors and good at what they do and it's just like, wouldn't it be hilarious if the whole ship is just based on an inappropriate workplace fling? Like, work wife, work husband, and now it's like created this whole ship.
Got a little too close on the set, and they seem to be Hayffie's biggest fans. I think they're still maybe on like doing interviews and stuff, supporting it. So, but it's kind of cute that like they just got along together so well that it people
translated.
think the characters are together. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. And like there's not a lot right canonically for this, but what I do see, it lays the groundwork for some pretty steamy exchanges, right? Because in my head, I don't think that they're one true pairing. I don't think that they're endgame. Or even like people talk about seeing them being married and raising Haymitch's geese in District 12. Like, no, I think these are two people who hate fucked the shit out of each other to cope with the insane situation that they were placed in. Right? Like one drunk night, they're like fighting and like getting mad at each other. And then it escalates to like a steamy kiss. And then it's just like a shitty situationship that you know you shouldn't be in, but you like just can't get out of for like the 1 or 2 weeks a year that you're around each other. And I'm like, yeah, I believe that. Hayffie, that's the kind of Hayffie that I'm shipping. It's just like the poor decision one. Right. Because
that adds some like, it ups their like tension because they're kind of like snappy to each other, right? In the few scenes where they do interact. I did try to watch some videos, but I was like, do they even have scenes together? But yeah, if you add like a sexual tension to it, it makes it a little bit more like steamier.
Yeah. Like, you know, that, because I mean,
banging it out later.
They're on that train a long time. I read the book. I know that Katniss and Peeta are like snuggling every night. And I imagine the fanfic where Effie's like, oh, do you think the kids saw me sneaking into your train room or whatever? And he's like, Effie, I saw Peeta go into Katniss's room 20 minutes ago or whatever. And I just like, I could just like, hey, again, the fanfic writes itself. Yeah. And then like, again, Suzanne Collins, do you expect me to believe 2 full-blooded teenagers are just cuddling in a bed all night? No. But whatever we were denied in the story about Katniss and Peeta, we can imagine was happening with Haymitch and Effie. Because, and you just see it, right? Like the, and like the, I hate you. I hate myself a little bit. So I'm going to do I'm going to make, bad choices. Again, because. Always drunk. So. Shame is pretty hot, as I've learned by other podcasts. So I definitely could see how this would happen. I mean, people have all kinds of inappropriate sexual partners all the time. Yep. So why not in Panem? 25 years is a long time. The people who actually believe in it, there's people who do see them as like not soulmates, because we'll learn about that, but like as endgame, thinks that they could be married, that they have a really good romantic relationship. And then there's other people who aren't so on board with Hayffie here. So what are the critics saying about this couple? And the first one is a pretty valid complaint. They're saying, what about Lenore Dove? Haymitch's girl. I guess referenced in one of the first books. Yeah. He had a girl and she died. Which I had forgotten that detail. So that was a surprise to me when I read Sunrise on the Reaping. But essentially, Lenore Dove is Haymitch's one true love. And he confirms that in the epilogue of Sunrise on the Reaping. He would never love another. She is, of course, Covey, because that was one little interesting tidbit in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which then had to take over the whole series. I was like, okay, we get it. Like the Covey, cool, whatever. Why is all of a sudden everyone's like, Covey, 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 Covey? Like, they're just one nomadic band of performers, and now all of a sudden they're like the most special people, and they have to be the ones who start the rebellion and everything. Whatever. I get it. But anyways, Lenore Dove, because they have to have 2 names, a name from a ballad and then a color. But she is, of course, like most other Coveys, she's rebellious and spirited and think for herself, and she lives outside the rules, right? She makes her own rules. And she ends up caught in the crossfire of Haymitch and good old Prezi Snow, Sejanus' guy from earlier, who has his own baggage around spirited Covey girls. And she may not be the first that he's killed. So she does bite the big one, and her official cause of death is officially gumdrops. Yep. So I guess for some reason, President Snow just really has it out for anyone from District 12. So he, I guess, also has it out for Haymitch in order to punish him for, I don't know, not dying. Well, you didn't read the book. So here's the 2 things you missed. He uses the force field. You missed 2 things. One, he drinks all the milk. So President Snow is dying, right? Because he drinks all his poison. There's a scene where he meets Haymitch and Plutarch Heavensby at the Heavensby Hall. And Snow is like, I'm not feeling good. I just, had to kill somebody with poison. So he eats the poison as well. And he's like, do you have any milk? And then Haymitch is like, oh, I'll go check. And then he chugs all the milk that's there. And he's like, it's empty. So strike one. He drunk all the milk.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast and they're like, I just imagine a Haymitch with like the biggest milk mustache. Like, there's no milk. I don't know what to do. Sorry.
And then B, the force field was only part of it. He was a part of a sabotage attack on the arena. So he snuck into the bowels of the arena during the games and blew up the water cistern. So he did partake in an act of terrorism. So that was kind of his act of rebellion is what earned his family's death more so than anything else. Because he was like kind of the cheeky fun guy in the game. So Snow was like, play that role, be spunky or whatever, but like watch yourself essentially. Oh, because he also did the thing with the chariot and he dumped that girl's body at his feet. So he's like from the jump and like, I'm not going to play your game. And then Snow was like, y'all should probably play my game. And he said, there's no milk. And then he killed his mom and his brother and his girlfriend.
Yeah. Everybody.
So yeah, it wasn't just like he was after him. It was that Haymitch did all this other stuff. And his compatriots in the arena killed game makers who were in the arena just kind of cleaning up some of the mess that he caused when he short-circuited. So, there was like a lot of small acts of rebellion along the way that kind of earned him that fate in the eyes of President Snow.
I just feel like President Snow should have more going on. He seems to take things very personally.
Well, in District 12. Well, yeah, that's also what the book's about. I don't know. Otherwise, it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
But if he sees somebody who he thinks people can unite around, it's like about quelling it from the beginning, then as opposed to like letting fire catch. You burn, we burn with you, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So he comes back from the games. Everybody dies, including his one true love. And what I'm gathered from the epilogue, which takes place after the Hunger Games with Katniss and stuff, he, I guess, retires to a life of geese husbandry. And claims, I guess Lenore was also into geese. I don't know.
She did raise
but
geese.
He claims,
yes, but Katniss didn't know that. Katniss is the one who got him the eggs and hatched the geese to give him something to do.
Yeah. Instead of rebellions, I guess, take a lot of effort.
Instead of drinking, because that was his thing, was he drank all the time. So she was trying to give him something to do.
Yep. But he says geese mate for life. So he's never going to move on. He's always going to be hung up on Lenore, his high school girlfriend.
Right.
Which, like, she did, she died, and it was very traumatic during, like, a lot of other stuff happening. I could see how that could maybe, you wouldn't really want to move on.
Yeah, but I don't think the Covey mate for life. I mean, that's just not the vibe I got from the Covey.
Oh, apparently geese don't mate for life either.
Oh.
So.
Uh-oh.
But I saw the geese mate for life thing, and I was like, is that this book's Snowlands on Top?
No, that's the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Snowlands on Top.
Well, yeah. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes has Snowlands on Top, and then this book has geese mate for life. It's like the slogan.
It did not say, it only said that once. Snowlands on Top came a lot. Even though when it comes to Sejanus, snow's on the bottom. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of like if I was going to write that Alpha Omega universe. To me, that's not even a hang up. Like, she died 20 years ago. I don't think he just instantly jumped into bed with Effie. I think it was like something that built over time. And I think that if he was going to find somebody to have that, like, at least release with, I think Effie makes a great candidate because she's everything that Lenore Dove isn't. She's like the polar opposite, right? She's capital. She's superficial. She's flighty and bubbly, where Lenore Dove is all serious and everything's got to be a fucking thing, She can't just like live day to day. She's like always got to be like causing shit.
I think if you were worried because you kind of got everyone you loved killed, yeah, like maybe you don't want to jump into a romance, but Snow's not going to be like that upset if you're just got a situationship.
Yeah,
going.
and that's what I feel like it is. There's like a long situationship that like starts as self-loathing, but then also like maybe some mutual affection builds over time where you're like, ugh, you rascal. Which is how he painted himself.
I just can't quit you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the vibes I'm getting.
Yeah. Other criticisms. So this is what I think happened. I think people went into Sunrise on the Reaping like hoping that they would get some confirmation of their ship. But instead what they get, it's not really in there. And then Effie actually, there's a bit of an age difference that wasn't, I think, spelled out before. So in the book, Haymitch is 16. Effie's like graduated college, so she's at least 22. So people seemed a little hung up on that. I think people get a little hung up on age gaps.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, obviously not at the time they weren't in a relationship. And I think maybe that was a bit jarring if you came in hoping for something and then you're like shut down to the extent where actually it would be like creepy if it were to happen. Yeah. But 6 years, that's not that bad when you're older.
Yeah,
you know, they're middle-aged. It's fine.
If he's 25 and she's 31, like that's not that big of a deal. You know, if he's 30 and she's 36, that's even less of a deal, right?
Yeah.
Over all that time, I think they're fine, right? And I don't, again, I don't think he jumped into bed with her, right? Like that is not something that he would do. He was too broken. So I just like, I think it's something that built over time, and then the age ever matters less and less. Especially when you think of like mentally, the capital people are like way mentally younger. That it's like even the physical age, I think the mental age probably met in the middle at some point.
Right. Yeah, I saw some posts that were like, oh, well, she looks younger because she has plastic surgery. Like, the appearance is not the problem.
No, yeah, it's not that
It's like, that's not the
it's
issue.
not about her being hot. It's about her, like a 22-year-old preying on a child.
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
Right.
And he did probably grew up a bit, pretty fast after that. Yeah, I mean, like 60, I feel like later, not that big a deal. But this is a lot of drama on the internet. I was on Tumblr reading through some of the tags. There's apparently a fandom war happening between the Hayffie shippers and the anti-Hayffie shippers, the Hay Dove shippers.
The Hay Dove, who didn't even have anything to ship him with. They were just anti-Hayffie.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, they don't like the A. I mean, they don't like that. I guess she's capital and stuff. But apparently, it's a whole thing on Tumblr and Twitter. I wasn't about to go on Twitter to find it, but I didn't look at it in Tumblr. This is my favorite kind of internet beef, where it's just completely pointless.
I mean, if Katniss can look past the fact that capital people are capital people, then it's just like, you should be able to too. Nobody helps where they're born and where you're spoon-fed stuff, you know? But
takes a lot to kind of come out of your society.
Yeah, and I guess it's if you're like working with these children.
True. But I think it kind of goes to show, right? Because you're being fed propaganda about how evil people are. And I feel like that's something people can buy. But then when you actually meet a person, they're just a person. So it's, you can kind of shows like you can be influenced by like this stuff, but still, when it comes down to it, people are people, and you have to like see them. You have to know them personally to connect those dots.
Yeah, and it's all
hypocrisy.
It's also an Elphaba Glinda thing, right? Because she's like, well, maybe I can't stop the Hunger Games on my own, but I can at least try to improve the situation for these kids and help them as best I can.
And not be just terrible for no reason.
Yeah. Or like a Plutarch Heavensby Elphaba situation, because he was like literally head game maker. He's trying to burn it all down
from the inside.
Right. Which is, I saw this pop up on my For You page. I had no idea. That's what inspired the topic today, especially since the book just came out and the casting announcements are like dropping like flies, and there's all this excitement around it. So I was like, oh, let's talk about this because that seems to be in sync with it. And then little do we know, we tiptoed into a minefield.
I know there's a lot going on below the surface. This is people's lives.
Oh, yeah.
More discussion. Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing at all. That it was even a ship. I just knew Katniss and Peeta and Gale. I figured like Katniss and Gale, right?
And I knew Finnick and
his
Finnick and anybody. That's a real Eddie situation. Not Eddie. That's a real Steve situation where everybody just wants to be in bed with Finnick. So, he gets a lot.
I think I pulled up fan fiction, and the first one was just like these two characters I had never heard of. I was like, who are these? Some like crazy names. Because people are even shipping the different Victors together, even though they're like barely characters.
Yeah. Oh, but they're people too, Emily. Don't lose sight of that. They're not pawns in your game.
No, they just like the world. So they're just trying to explore the world. And then if you get characters that don't have a lot going on in the book, more to expand.
Well, and speaking of fan fiction, isn't one of the top fan fiction, The Crimson River or something like that, Crimson Water, Crimson River, is about members of the Marauders from Harry Potter in the Hunger Games, right? This is all coming back to me.
Whenever you pull up like the top comments and stuff, it's always one with like a million different fandoms in it, where it's like a crazy crossover. I think I saw that, yeah. a Harry Potter one. So I highlighted one of the top ones was a crossover with shipping Percy Jackson and Finnick together. I guess they both are water themed or ocean themed. So I was like, that's crazy. I don't want to read about Percy Jackson though. He's a kid. He's forever 18. So with the fandom things, I did look at some AO3 stats. So there's 23,000 Hunger Games fics. 2,000 are Hayffie, so like good. It is the third most popular ship. I saw a list. Someone went in and like crunched some numbers. The first is obviously Peeta Katniss.
Hell yeah.
Who is the second? Oh yeah, you said Finnick and Annie, which I guess is his like girlfriend.
Yeah, they got married and had a baby on the way when he died. So he had an unhappy ending. So people love that kind of stuff.
Yep. And then your Sejanus, Sejaniolis.
Snow anus. Snow Janus
is actually fifth, so you're not the only one out there.
Hell yeah, I gotta go read those.
Yeah, and then actually Katniss and Gale is sixth. Well, after that,
he did blow up her sister, so that's kind of
oh, I'm sorry.
That doesn't really put him high on the list of people's affections.
I thought that would be higher. I thought that was the whole love triangle. So I compared it to the other big love triangle fave. So that's Twilight. Let's see, Twilight had 12,000 fanfics, so half. So Twilight had less. And then I was also kind of interested in like the other dystopian, books kind of that were big at the same time. So Divergent, kind of riding Hunger Games coattails. It's sitting about 1,800ish. So so about the same amount of Divergent fanfics as there is just Hayffie.
Right.
So
yeah.
And then comparing it, of course, to the YA juggernaut Harry Potter, you can't really compare it. That's at 500,000 fanfics. That's crazy because of like the Marauders and stuff. There's like aspects of that fandom that are like just completely made up by fans. Like that doesn't exist in the books or the movies. People just took these characters and ran with it, made their whole own thing.
That's a fandom that they just like everybody's taken it from J.K. Rowling, and we're like, goodbye. And then they're like, we're gonna run with our own thing, and we own it now. It belongs to the people, to the millennials. We have all the Deathly Hollow tattoos. But I was interesting because I did dig into the fanfics as well, because I was like 2,000, like that seems like nothing. And then I started like looking at the dates of when they were published, and I started going back through them, and there is literally a Hayffie fanfic being published daily, if not every 2 to 3 days. And I was like, let's see, like this has to be new uptick, right? Because there's been more than 2,000 days since the Hunger Games first came out. And turns out when I clicked on, there's 100 pages, 102 pages. I clicked on 51, real scientific method. The dates on those pages was in 2022, right? So that's within 3 years, there's been 50% of all the fics ever written about it. And that's compared to a decade before, because the very first Hayffie fanfic on AO3 was published in 2011.
Which predates so the last
movie.
Book came out 2010. So 2011 is when the first movie came out. So it really is just
oh yeah, it's based on the movie.
Just vibing with these actors.
Which
I think that was in my other notes.
Yeah, so this was the first one. It came out so within a decade is 50%, and then the rest of them were done in the last 3 years. So that's like kind of shows you the speed that this is taking off. And like you said, it is in line with the movies. And the very first fic about Hayffie is called Battle Scars, and it's by Sound and Color. And they are truly a visionary because they were the first to put this together. And I will also say writing fanfic back then was probably way harder because they were referencing all of this stuff that they only knew about via the book. Like, I guess Reddit and stuff was around back then, but I just feel like it was harder to get information. There was probably no fan wiki for Hunger Games. So, like, all of the details that they had incorporated that I know now because I've read them online, they remembered reading in the book. They had, like, cross-referenced the book and everything. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. And it was a cute little story. It was like a little vignette of essentially what we talked about, Haymitch and Effie hooking up. Just kind of casually after the Hunger Games were done because they just, needed companionship.
Right. Yeah, I just looked up. I was like, when did AO3 start? Because if it was 2011, then that would mean less. But it did start at 2009, so it does line up with the movie.
Yep.
But yeah, the vision, the first person to see it.
Yeah, and put pen to paper and make it so. I give them kudos.
You can, literally, that's a thing.
Oh, I should. I should make an account. I'm going to write fanfic one of these days because I need to get back into writing, and fan fiction is just so much easier. It's like, a coloring book versus making your own art.
Yeah.
Which people do make their own art. No hate.
I tried to get an account because I was like, I do kind of feel like if I'm reading this stuff, I should give them a like or whatever. I want to support these people. They're putting effort into this for my enjoyment. But you have to you go on a wait list. You have to wait for them to send you an invite, an email.
Oh.
And it's 2 weeks. I'm still waiting.
Okay, I'm going to sign up then today too so I can eventually get to publishing my shit.
There you go. I wanted to give maybe some support.
I love it. Okay, I'll have to do that.
Nice.
That's good to know, especially if we're doing this podcast long term. Which by now it's 6 months. We're doing really good. It hasn't even been hard yet. I haven't ever thought, damn, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I literally just watch fan edits on TikTok and then I'm like, yes or no. But mostly yes, apparently. I'm really easily swayed. I'm a capital person.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Why not? Yeah,
It's
go
cute.
for it. I'm happy you guys are happy.
Yes, that's me. Where's my pill to throw
I
out my
agree.
food so I can eat again? That's another capital.
Oh, that's a capital thing?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I forget. You don't live and breathe it. You didn't pretend to be in the Hunger Games with your younger cousins in the woods. You don't remember that?
I do remember that. I do remember you guys tossing socks at each other.
Yeah,
and
we
stuff.
were playing Hunger Games, me and my little cousins. They were 10, 12. I was in my 20s. Whatever, it's cool. I was in college. All right. Well, is there anything else to say about Hayffie that we haven't said yet?
There was one thing I read where people were so I guess in the most recent book, Effie's the last person Haymitch sees before going into the games. And then afterwards, she's the only person who knew him from before the games. So I thought that was cool. I don't know, you could put a lot of angst on that.
Yeah.
She's the only person who knew him before.
Right. Because all of his mom and dad, or his mom and sister, or mom and brother and girlfriend. And
yeah. And he pushed away all his friends from that time because he was, deeply grieving and didn't want to put them in danger too. But yeah, I guess like I said, I buy the semi-regular hookup, but not with any feelings. I just feel like they got a lot going on, and also post everything, people I guess want them to get together. I think Haymitch has got just too much baggage, and therapists don't exist in Panem, so
right. And
I don't know.
And he
I don't know if he
says in the epilogue that he's dying. He knows his time is running. He's been a heavy alcoholic for
20 years,
30 years.
yeah.
At that point. So it's just he knows his song's up, and he wants to go see Lenore Dove anyway. So these two didn't have a happy ending written in the stars for them. They're not going to be raising geese in some cottagecore dream. There's just it's Panem.
Yeah. And why would Effie want to be out there? I don't. What in the story made you think she would want that? She's from the capital. That's where her life is, her family.
Yeah, she's supposed to give up
Should
everything for a drunk.
Leave him. Yeah, and that's why I saw that a lot of fan fiction. Her taking care of him while drunk, which I don't find that attractive.
No, it's not, and nobody should aspire to that.
Yeah, I get the caretaking thing can be sweet sometimes, but not when it's someone doing it to themselves like that. I know it's his trauma.
Yeah,
but,
it's not his
I don't
fault.
know. Not
but
romantic.
It's just kind of his fault.
Mm-hmm. But it's just not romantic to me.
No.
But hooking up on the train, I see it.
Yeah, same. So are we getting to the part where we do our 1-shoe pairing score?
Yeah, yes, our 1-2 pairing.
You go first. I always make you go first.
I can go first. I always go out of 10. So, do I see it? No. Do I want to see it? Not really. And I don't think it's hot. So yeah, I'm happy for I guess I'm anti-Hayffie, but I'm not mad about it. People can do what they want. But yeah, I personally, it is not a ship for me. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10 bows and arrows.
2 out of 10.
I think it could be there, but I don't enjoy it.
Okay. Do I see it? No, that's probably gonna be like a 2 out of 10. Movie, somewhat. Books, like maybe. You know, if you read between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to see it? Do I want to see it? Like in canon? Not really either. I'll give that like 4 out of 10. And is it hot? The situation that I've concocted in my head? Yeah. I'll give it like a 7 out of 10 on that. So I think that averages to like what, a 4? 4 out of 10 empty milk jugs. Or Flint Strikers. How about that? I'll do 7. 4 out of 10 Flint Strikers, because that's what Lenore Dove gave Haymitch to take into the arena as his token. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
And that's his real love.
He talks to her and he sees her all the time. She aged with him or something. I don't remember.
He's just so broken.
Yeah, poor guy.
Because it's just so sad.
Yeah, that book I was just like, this is
Why
darker.
does everybody like it?
This is darker than the rest. And it did feel like fan service more so than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
It was just like name drop, name drop, name drop, name drop. And I'm just like, okay, we get it. It's just a 12. We know. Okay.
But they're going to make a movie. It's going to make a lot of money.
Hell yeah, I'll see it. With my tub of popcorn by myself.
This is for me. This is
Mama's Day Out.
I need to cry at this movie.
I need a whole tub of popcorn. I also just like Rachel Zegler, so that's also what fueled my. She's got like a contentious spotlight or whatever. People either love her or hate her. And haven't we talked about this before? I'm like, she's probably really unbearable to be around, but she's fucking talented. God damn it! Yeah. Like I would have hated her.
That's I think everybody who's chooses to be an actor like that is probably crazy.
Politician. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Any kind of they want attention, so that makes them egomaniacs.
Yeah, the best of us just choose quiet lives.
Yep.
And I say that as somebody who does 2 podcasts. Look at me. Okay, that's it for this week. We'll be back with another couple in 2 weeks, and we have to decide who that is when we get off the phone, because we're starting to skate by the skin of our teeth. Okay.
Yep. We really ate into our backlog.
Yeah, that's why it's been comfortable. We haven't had to work that hard.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks with a new hot, sizzling, maybe higher than a low scoring couple, than a 2 in Emily's book. And
well, last time, right, Kate VR like them. They were high, so this is a low.
Yeah,
they can't all be winners.
Yeah. We got to run the gambit here. Okay, so we'll see you then. Until then, remember, ship happens.